Hi everybody, welcome back to story time. I hope you've had a fun weekend. I did. It's pumpkin season, isn't it? It won't be long, 2 more days. Well, maybe a day and a half really until Halloween. Are you gonna go get candy? Are you gonna go trick-or-treating? Or are you giving out candy? I'm giving out lollipops and glow-in-the-dark bracelets. And different types of lollipops. I've got regular lollipops, and I've got ring lollipops, you know, the ones that look like a big diamond ring. And I have the lollipops that have the top over them, you know, where if you get tired of them, you just put the top back on them and you save it. Anyway, I hope you all have had a fun day. It's been a warm day here in Middle Georgia, that's for sure. But since it's pumpkin time, I found this book at one of my local bookstores, and I saw it on Amazon, and I wanted to read it. And so when I found it at the bookstore and it was on sale, I couldn't wait to get home and read it to you guys. And so on Halloween, I'm going to be reading a monster book, and there's a monster named for every letter of the alphabet. So I know you can't wait to hear about all the monsters that live in this place. So we are going to read Too Many Pumpkins by Linda White. And I hope you enjoy it, because I know I'm going to enjoy reading it to you. So you know what I'm going to say. So let's first, when I say 3, I want you to say your name, so we will all be friends. 1, 2, 3. Claudia, did you tell me your name? I hope so. Let's all say hi to our friends Caleb and Journey and Marcia. She had a birthday recently. And Tammy, she has donkeys and bees. Miss Tammy makes honey. I'll have to find us a bee book. That's what I'll look for the next time I go to the bookstore. So, what else do we like to say? Gather your children, gather your blankets, your bears, and your pumpkins too, and let's all settle down, because I have a story to read to you. Are you ready to read Too Many Pumpkins? I hope you will enjoy it. Too Many Pumpkins by Linda White. And you can find this book on Amazon or at your bookstore. Every year at springtime, Rebecca Estelle planted just enough seeds in her garden to grow vegetables for the long winter. Do you see the cat in the picture? She planted carrots and beans, tomatoes and peas, corn and rhubarb. She grew a little bit of everything except pumpkins. Rebecca Estelle hated pumpkins. When she was a little girl, money had been scarce. For an entire month, all they had to eat were pumpkins. Baked pumpkins, steamed pumpkins, boiled pumpkins, stewed pumpkins, mashed pumpkins, rotten pumpkins, boiled pumpkins, breakfast pumpkins, lunch pumpkins, dinner pumpkins, enough pumpkins. When things finally improved and there was more money to buy food, Rebecca Estelle decided she would never eat pumpkins again, or even look at one, not ever. And she didn't until... Do you like pumpkin? I like pumpkin. Even mashed pumpkin is good with butter and cinnamon. Look at there. One autumn day, long after Rebecca Estelle's hair had turned snowy white, she was raking the leaves that fell each fall from her black walnut tree, and her cat, Esmeralda, was scattering them just as quickly. All of a sudden, the pumpkin truck passed by. Oh, she heard it coming, and she knew what it was. It rumbled by at harvest time each year. She turned her back and concentrated on picking up the last fallen leaf. She managed to ignore the truck until... There's the truck. Splat! An enormous pumpkin tumbled off the truck and smashed into slimy orange smithereens all over the edge of her yard. What a mess. Come back here and get this pumpkin, she yelled. But the driver sped away. That was a mighty big pumpkin. She doesn't look happy, does she? Well, I won't touch it, Rebecca Estelle insisted, getting her shovel from the barn. And I won't look at it, she added, as she shoveled dirt on top of the pumpkin pieces. I won't think about that pumpkin ever again, she declared. And she didn't. Until... What do you think happened? Spring, when Rebecca Estelle was admiring the new sprouts in her garden. She noticed Esmeralda playing in some big green leaves growing at the edge of the yard. How curious, she said, going over to inspect them. I didn't plant anything here. Then Rebecca Estelle remembered the pumpkin truck and the slimy pumpkin smithereens. Pumpkins, she cried in disgust. Come out of there, Esmeralda. I will not water these plants. I will not tend to them. I will ignore them, and they will die. She picked up Esmeralda and stomped inside. But a week later, when Rebecca Estelle peered out her window, she saw that the vines had grown. Oh, I'm sorry. She trampled to the barn, got her garden tools, and went to work on the pumpkin vines. She cut and dug until not one was left growing. There now. There will be no pumpkins. She smiled and went back inside. But the next week, when she was weeding the garden, she noticed that the pumpkin vines had grown back. Rebecca Estelle marched inside and snapped the curtains shut. Only thing to do is to ignore them. They won't grow if I don't take care of them, she muttered. So rain or shine, all spring and summer, she never looked out the front window. She used only the back door and never even glanced toward the vines. Neither did Esmeralda. Rebecca Estelle ignored the vines so well that in time she forgot why she wasn't using the front door until one autumn day when she and Esmeralda went to rake the leaves that fell each fall from the black walnut tree in front of her house. There's Esmeralda. Pumpkins, Rebecca Estelle shouted. Pumpkin vines had turned into the bushes, over the bird bath, through the porch rails, and onto the rocking chair. The entire yard was a sea of plump, round pumpkins. Rebecca Estelle could no longer ignore them. Look how many pumpkins she has. I bet there's over 100, don't you? She piped down on the pumpkin nearest her, putting her hands over her face. Whatever will I do, Esmeralda? She cried. How will I get rid of this many pumpkins? She thought, and she thought. Her mind went back to all the pumpkins she had eaten as a young girl, when pumpkins were the only food her family had. Have you ever seen that many pumpkins? I have. Well, we can't let them stay here, she told Esmeralda. Some people might need these pumpkins, and I suppose there are folks crazy enough to like them. We'll give them away. She marched off to get her wheelbarrow. Rebecca Estelle struggled to lift the first pumpkin, then the second and the third. She huffed and she puffed as she wheeled the loaded wheelbarrow into the lane. I'm too tired to deliver these heavy pumpkins now, Rebecca Estelle grumbled. She mopped her brow with her apron and wondered what to do next. Perhaps if I make them into pies, they would be easier to deliver. Such a nuisance. Do you like pumpkin pie? So she went to work. She scooped the slimy seeds out of the pumpkins and cut away the shells, and she baked the pumpkin meat. She mixed it with eggs, milk, sugar, flour, cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves to make rich pies. This sounds yummy. Then Rebecca Estelle made pumpkin tarts, pumpkin muffins, pumpkin cakes, pumpkin bread, pumpkin pudding, pumpkin cookies, until, try saying pumpkin that many times. More pumpkins. And more pumpkins. Pumpkin dishes spilled out of every cupboard, drawer, and cubbyhole, and the seeds were a mountain in the corner. Have you ever had pumpkin seeds? Well, that's the first batch, Rebecca Estelle said, during her dusting in her floury hands. Now to deliver them. She put the wheelbarrow outside the kitchen door, then loaded it with pumpkin treats. When it was full, just the thought of delivering all those pumpkin dishes made Rebecca Estelle tired. If only people would come and get them, she said. Then she had an idea. Rebecca Estelle swirled around and hurried back into the house for a kitchen knife. This should get people to come, Rebecca Estelle cried. She took her knife and sat in the middle of the pumpkin patch. She carved a smiling face on a nice round pumpkin, and a scary snaggletooth face on a tall thin pumpkin, and Boo on a short squat pumpkin. She was so busy carving pumpkins, she hardly noticed how dark it was outside. When she could no longer see, she went to the shelf on the back porch and got the sack of candles she kept for emergencies. If this doesn't get people to come here, we'll have to deliver them all ourselves, she mumbled to Esmeralda. My neighbors have a bell just like that in their backyard. They also have a cat, but his name is not Esmeralda. Look at all the pumpkins. Do you see the one that says boo? I see the one that says boo. Do you see boo? Do you see more than one boo? I see more than one boo. Do you see the ones with triangle eyes? Do you see one with circle eyes? Do you see the one that's not, the pumpkin that's not smiling? I do. Do you? Rebecca Estelle peered into the darkness for a long time. She didn't see anything. Still, she watched until finally she saw a light, faint at first, and then brighter, and then more lights bubbling through the night. Here they come, she shouted. Esmeralda, let's eat some apple cider. Do you see the moon? There's the pumpkins. Look at all the neighbors, young and old, everyone in town came. Rebecca Estelle, we thought you hated pumpkins, they said. We saw your jack-o'-lanterns from the end of the road and came for a closer look. I was hoping you would, said Rebecca Estelle. Where did you find all of these pumpkins? People asked. I came by them quite by accident, Rebecca Estelle said, smiling. Would you like some pumpkin pie? There's plenty. She winked at Esmeralda. Everyone enjoyed the pumpkin pie and cider and had a good time. So did Rebecca Estelle. And when they were ready to go home, she made sure each carried a jack-o'-lantern, a bag of seeds for roasting, and a pumpkin treat. Rebecca Estelle gave away everything that reminded her of the pumpkins that she always hated until all that remained was a handful of seeds. Those she tucked snugly into her pocket, where they would be safe into planting time next spring. The end. Wasn't that a wonderful story where she took all the pumpkins and she turned a problem into a solution? That's what we can do. When we have a problem, we can look and find a solution, just like Rebecca Esmeralda did. I hope you've enjoyed Too Many Pumpkins by Linda White. And if you really loved it, I hope you'll go order it from Amazon. I know I've enjoyed reading to you today, boys and girls. And I hope you will come back very soon when you see that I have a new story to share with you. So goodbye, everybody. Until next time.